fierce, physical and brutal.
One of the classic old Six Nations encounters, England versus Wales at Twickenham, and Twickenham is bouncing. Elliot Daly, Cuthbert chases him down. Elliot Daly for England scores.
It's always competitive against Wales. It's always built up, not just in camp, but around camp, and people messaging you saying, oh, it's Wales this weekend, good luck. There's always that rivalry. It's always a physical game. They're a skillful side. They showed it over the last few years. We know it's going to be a tough game, but yeah, it's one we always look forward to when we see the fixtures. Brilliant week of prep. Obviously it's a bit different conditions coming back to London rather than being in Spain and in Italy, so we've been working really hard on how this game is going to go for us and what we're going to come against with Wales, but I think we just need to build on what we did last weekend. There was a lot of good basics from last weekend, so it's about building, layering on those, and hopefully we can get a really good performance. I really enjoyed being in the back three with Freeman and Fred. I think Freeman's just brought his game to England at the moment. I think he's obviously played really well this season for Northampton, and over the last few years has been one of their best players. And to go last weekend against Italy, he played really well, did what he's been doing all year. So I'm kind of the older statesman in the back three at the moment, which is nice. It's nice if I can share any experiences, but obviously I'm learning off those guys as well. They do things slightly differently. I need to learn what they do well, what they need off me, for them to be in the best position for them to score tries or be in space. So really enjoying working with Tommy at the moment. Hopefully he goes from strength to strength.
Elliot's been great over the last kind of couple of weeks. He's an experienced head, he's a smart rugby player, but yeah, he's an awesome bloke to be around as well, to learn from. I think that's great about the team in general, to be honest, and especially Elliot, having been a part of these games for a fair few years now. Not too many though, but yeah, he's been awesome with any little kind of feedback individually, and as a winger, what to expect against a team like Wales.
So every opportunity we get to do it, boys, let's make sure we are on it. We are getting the detail. We're understanding what we want to do. If we're walking through something here, let's make sure we're walking through that. We're going to go and practice it out there, and then we're going to go and do it on Saturday. Every opportunity we get, because it matters, boys, in these games. It matters in these games against a big rival of ours.
So I got diagnosed with a type of epilepsy when I was about 13. I was at school, I was reading out in class as you do as a youngster, read parts of a book, and I just had this kind of blank where I just went quiet, and I think that was the wake-up call for me to kind of go and get this looked at, and that was it. They said it was epilepsy, but a staring vacant, something I could potentially grow out of because they'd picked it up at such a young age, and they'd call it infantile epilepsy. It then got to end of GCSEs, I was on tablets, didn't have any of these episodes again for about 2 years, came off the tablets. They were like, if you don't have one of these episodes within a couple of weeks of coming off these tablets, you're probably cured, and it was when you had it when you were younger. So it was looking all positive from that point of view. It got to 2 years at college, absolutely fine, learnt to drive at 17, was brilliant, no issues at all, rugby was going well, and then signed for Saints when I was 19, and in that halfway through the first season, I had a full-blown fit, tonic-clonic, whatever you call it, seizure. That lasted about 25 minutes, was a pretty tough time. Obviously the unknown for me, not knowing if I could play rugby again. Mum and Dad, I remember Mum lying down next to me on the floor, kind of supporting me, crying in tears, Dad looking up, he was blubbering up there as well. So yeah, for me it was a massive shock, and for them they definitely thought it was the end of the road for rugby. But luckily we got on the right phone calls, let everyone know, and got it under control, and here we are today. It's definitely been a bit of a bump in the journey. It was hard to come to terms with. I was probably in denial at first, and obviously only having this one full-blown fit, there is a bit of denial still there now today. Sometimes I forget I've got it, to be honest, which is good. The hardest part was the driving. that being taken away from you in that moment, kind of having your independence of doing what you want to do and go here and there, to then suddenly having to rely on people and make them kind of, well, they've got to taxi you about, and that was the worst thing for me, I think, having to rely on other people. So that was tough in that respect, but in a rugby, in terms of the actual condition itself, it's completely under control. And yeah, there are a few things like having a bath and cycling. These thoughts do run through your head occasionally, of not wanting to bath alone, not wanting to get in a swimming pool alone. So yeah, in terms of that probably impacts me slightly, but everyone on the rugby field is aware, I'm sure, and that I'm in the safest of hands when I'm playing. So yeah, it doesn't really cross my mind. I think that was the main thing. The reason I came out and said about the epilepsy, about kind of my diagnosis, is to just, if you do have it and you're in the same similar boat, don't let it stop you, along with many of these conditions as well. They're a bump in the journey, but it's definitely not a barrier to stop you doing something. So I think, yeah, if I can get another lad or anyone who's in a similar boat to pick up a rugby ball or to carry on doing what they love, then that's a win for me. Oh, I think it's important to talk about these conditions because it's life. It's not. No, we're not all superhuman. As a professional athlete, you've got your problems outside of the rugby pitch, and I think that probably goes missed a lot. There are a few other people in the world with other conditions, and Henry mentioned obviously his diabetes. It's just one of those things that life throws at you, and if you can kind of get things under control, and it shouldn't stop you doing anything you love to do.
Well, it's a fairly typical February weekend in the English capital. It's not that cold, but it's grey and a little bit miserable. The Guinness Six Nations returns to Twickenham. It's England against Wales at Twickenham. Jamie George captain for the first time at the home of English rugby. Well, England against Wales, a pot that needs no further ingredient. Here's Johan Lloyd getting knocked backwards. They have to be careful here. And it's going to be a put-in and an England ball. The pick-up from Ben Earl. Earl will try to go himself. Look at the power and the outstretched arm. Well, George Ford moved. Well, it's all happening at Twickenham. Well, he passes it back, and it's Rio Dyer who knocks it into touch. And it is a stunned Twickenham. Wales find themselves in the lead.
This crowd have been thoroughly entertained, but there's still a big 40 to come.
A crucial time in the match, surely this. There's Ford. Ford out to Daly. Daly to Rugby. And England have their try. Danny Kerr. Ford. Oh, and it's gone loose. Well, Mason Grady tried to pick it up, but it's a penalty to England. They go short to Coles. It's there with Theo Dan. Danny Kerr will chip it into touch. The referee blows his whistle for the end of the match. And England have got themselves out of a very tight spot.
This is my message to you.
Boys, this is special, isn't it? Great work again out there, lads. Like what we said, showing a lot of fight, a lot of character. Couldn't have had more thrown at us. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks again to the lads that travelled as well. Boys, I thought the way that you applied yourself this week was unbelievable. So it's a real squad effort, family effort. Well done, everyone.
Here we go, singing high, high.